Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone. I have a very good evening to everyone. I hope you all you all are fine. So today we invited a distinguished guest speaker, as we announced last week. Uh, so I'm going to introduce about the speaker today. So on behalf of our institute, it's my great pleasure and honor to warmly welcome Dr. Aslam, especially to today's lecture. So let me introduce shortly about Dr. Aslam. Who is Dr. Aslam? Dr. Aslam is a senior lecturer at the International Institute of Public Policy and Management at University of Malaya. And also Dr. Aslam holds a PhD in anthropology and policy from the University of Queensland, and also has been working actively also for refugees, especially a Rohingya community in Malaysia, and also a he has been conducting research since 2015, especially also for Rohingya community. So today's lecture on introduction to social research methods, ethics, and community impact. So this lecture is especially relevant, of course, for our Rohingya research learners, as it will also provide both a strong academic foundation and practical insights into how research can be used to uplift communities, document life experience, and support advocacy. So thank you, Dr. Islam, brother, for joining us and for your time and contribution to Ryan Institute. And of course, uh, empowering the Rohingya students. We are honored to learn from your knowledge and experience. Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Um, Assalamualaikum and a very good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. And of course, thank you very much for inviting me to share my knowledge. Well, I think, it's not, I wouldn't call it a lecture. I would just call it, a sharing session because I believe that all of
Yeah.
you have so much knowledge to share with me as well. So even though I'm a lecturer at a university, but I keep telling the students that I always would like to share my knowledge, and also I would like to get knowledge from the students and also from yourself. So it's a privilege. Thank you very much for inviting me. And I see now there are over 50 participants in this lecture. So yeah, it's a big group. Thank you. I didn't expect it would be this big. So I am gonna share my screen. I believe I can share my screen.
Yeah.
Uh,
So,
okay, yeah. So I'm sharing my screen now. Um, so Kaisar actually invited me, approached me to actually share this topic about introduction to social research methods, ethics, and community impact. Apologies, my slides are not fancy at all. My slides are very simple because I'm very bad in making fancy slides. And normally in my class, it's always about discussion. So
no, it's okay. No,
I
it's good. It's good.
okay, good. So if you would like to interject during the presentation, please do so. I really welcome. So I got the information from Mr. Kaisar that some of you are students and also doing research. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Some of you are students and also doing research in different countries, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Malaysia. So I'm sure there's so many things. There's so much knowledge that you can share with me uh, regarding your local context, and of course. your lived experience is very important. As Rohingya, you have um, experienced a lot, and it's valuable to actually share with all of us and the world. So I'm gonna go to the introduction part. So I thought, the group wouldn't be this big. So there's like over 50 of you. So probably it's gonna be a bit difficult to actually ask one by one. Um, I guess I just ask if there's anyone who would like to volunteer to just tell a bit about yourself, what research means to you, and why do you do research?
Okay,
If
thank you so
anyone,
much. Yeah, you can raise the voice so that I can give the floor. Yes, please go ahead. Who is that? Uh, okay, Nam Hassan.
yes,
Yes, please
Aslam
go
Abd
ahead.
Jalil. Yep.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. So, I flag at first. My name is Anam Hassan. I am an academic research planner at the school in Academic Research Institute. So, researchman, collecting the data through analysis, investigation to get the real situation, to understand the real situation. If I say very shortly, it's a way to know the reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Anamo. Abdul Rahman. Abdul Rahman,
Assalamu
do you
alaikum.
want?
Assalamu
Walaikum.
alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for giving me the chance to introduce myself and to share my expertise insight about research. My name is Abdul Rahman. I'm an academic research learner and uh, can I continue? Hello. Can you hear
Yes,
me, sir?
please. Yes, I
Yeah.
can hear you.
Let me start again. My name is Abdul Rahman and I'm an academic research learner. According to me, research means a systematic process to investigate a problem or any matter and finding solution for that problems. Uh, we usually do research because when we are willing to gain knowledge about a particular thing, we do research. And also we do research to contribute to a specific field. And another important thing, especially in our Rohingya context, we are doing research to find solution to the crisis we have been facing. So to solve problems and to gain knowledge, we always do research. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Abdul Rahman. Very important point you mentioned about finding solution, which I will discuss further later. Okay, the next person, there's no name. Uh, yeah, you can unmute yourself. Asim, yes, Asim.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself. First of all, I'm a Rohingya youth and a research learner of Rohingya academic research. Uh, Research meant to me is research is a systematic process by which we can collect data, we can do analysis, and by and we can be able to integrate data which we collected from the grounds of understanding of a specific on or other topics. And I am doing research because in my community we have been suffering for decades. So we can find out any solution through any by choosing any topics. Especially, we are doing research to find the solution and to solve problems.
Okay, thank you, Asim. Asim, may I know where are you located now? In Bangladesh?
Yeah, I'm living in Bangladesh.
I see. Okay, thank you. The next person, Mohammed Shoaib.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Shuaif. I am an academic research learner. Research means to me the process of finding. For example, we can find something from articles or from other out new information and understanding something deeply, and also solving a problem carefully and collecting, studying and analyzing the data or the main purpose and facts. Also the truth, and we can make better decision and improves our lives. And I do research. In research, for example, I choose a topic and I ask questions, and also I gather information in various ways, and I analyze the data effectively, and then I write present and past what I have learned. That's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Shoaib. Okay, Anwar Shah.
Thank you so much. My name is Anwar Shah. I am a student of Rohingya Academic Research Institutes. I'm very glad to here today. So thank you for giving me. Especially researches to me, research means discover new knowledge and understand the world more deeply. And it's a way to ask questions and look for real answers using facts and solutions. At the same time, obedience and critical thinking. Research helps us learn not just what is happening, but why it is happening. It also teaches us problem and make better decision in our life and studies. So there are four factors in research. As we see, there we need to do observation and question. And another area, research topic area, hypothesis, test with experiments, data analysis, report conclusion. This is the way scientific method of research. So this is the solution. We are trying to find a solution for suffering from the community fact. So thank you so much. This is my explanation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anwar Shah. A very comprehensive answer from you. I guess the last person, Anwar Mustafa, you're raising your hand.
Hello, sir. Assalamu
Yeah.
alaikum.
Hi. Walaikum salam.
Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. This is me, Anwar Mustafa, a refugee student from the world largest Rohingya refugee camp and a student of RAR Institute. Research is a way of seeking truth and solving problems through careful study and analysis. Research helps us understand the world better, raise unheard voices, and bring positive change to society. I do research to understand problems deeply, find solutions, and create positive change. Research helps me explore issues in health, education, and human rights, and use facts and evidence to raise awareness and make a real impact. That's all, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Anwar Shah. And thank you to all of you who volunteered to share your perspectives on
Yes.
what research.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Yeah, sorry, we have now 73 participants. Yeah, I think we can move on for each question, like 2, 3 participants. I think that way would be better.
Yep, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. And I believe all of you already, understood what research means. And I'm sure, it's through your, your own learning experience. And I'm sure many of you have done research by yourselves or working with, other collaborators in doing research. So I have no doubt that you understand what research means. And just to summarize, some important points that all of you mentioned when you gave your perspectives, about what's happening. Yes, what's happening, and not just about what's happening. It's also about why it is happening, and you would like to know, yes, things are happening around us. Why are they happening? and what are the challenges, and you also mentioned about the solutions, because I think the problem in academia, or when people do research, for example, they tend to focus on issues and problems and look at the root causes, but they do not go to the final step, which is, what are the solutions. That's why in academia, and when you do research, there's growing emphasis on translating research into action. So we do all this academic research, we interview people, we get the data. At the end of the day, what does the research contribute to the society? And I think this actually aligns well with the topic given today about, making impact. So I shall move to the next. Well, there are three components in this presentation. The title. So the first one, introduction. Well, four components basically. Introduction to social research, and I believe majority of you you understand what research means. So the other three components: methods, ethics, and community impact. So these are the three components that I would like to emphasize in this presentation. Yes, Alam Shah, you want to say something? Okay. Okay. So I move to the methods aspect. So, doing research, in academic research, for example, you have to have, the methods. And in order to conduct the research, you need to understand the context of the research that you want to do. So if you're doing about, education, you must, read well and know what's happening in the education sector. So education is so broad, right? So let's say if you want to do research on, access to education in the camps in Bangladesh. So doing research, I always tell people it's an hourglass. So it's an hourglass. I don't know, have you seen an hourglass? You can see my screen now, right? So I'll just Google.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see.
Yeah. Okay. So this is an hourglass actually. So you see, it's okay. It's like it's big. It's like really broad at the top, and then it goes down, and it narrows down. So, which means you need to provide the context of the issue at the broader level from the beginning, and then you narrow down. So let's say you want to understand education. So you talk about education in general, like all around the world, the global education system, and then you narrow down, about refugee education access, and then you can narrow down, refugee education access in the context of camps, if you want to do in the context of camps, or you can also contrast it in the context of urban areas, because the settings might be different, the context of Rohingya education in Bangladesh would be different than in Malaysia or in Pakistan or in the USA or Australia, you see, because of the different context. Then your research project would also be different. So you really need to understand this context first before you and provide the context before you actually go deeper and start doing your research. And then it's also important, to do like okay, probably I'll jump into the types first before stakeholder analysis. So and then you can decide, whether you want to do quantitative method or qualitative method. And I believe you already understand. So quantitative method, quantity, right? Quantity. So which means you play with numbers. You have surveys, for example, you distribute to people, and then people answer, your questions. Um, uh, have you gone to school? at what level you've gone to school, like how many family members in your household actually go to school, that kind of thing. And then they will answer, let's say 5 or yes or no, that kind of thing. And then you tabulate the results. So basically, that's the general, idea of doing quantitative. Whereas for qualitative, it's more about interviews, and then you do observation. So I just want to highlight, I'm sure you know all these already, quantitative versus qualitative. So quantitative, well, you need large sample size. So yeah, there's like, if you want to do quantitative, in order for it to become a quantitative analysis, you have to have like big sample size. Um, there's a formula to do it. For example, I think out of the population, how many you need to refer to, the quantitative literature, because I'm not a quantitative person actually, so I'm a qualitative person. So quantitative, the good thing is, you have the breadth of the data. You have big sample size, which means, you can say, oh, basically, how many percent of people living in the camp or in one area, go to school? How many, do not go to school? That kind of thing. So you can capture, the overall data. But for qualitative, it's more in depth. So let's say, you want to understand the experience of accessing healthcare, in qualitative, because you do interviews. So you ask people, deeper, what are the challenges? Because in quantitative method, yes, you can ask questions. How often you go to go to the clinic. You know, how many times, that kind of thing. But you often get quantitative answers like yes or no, or like numbers, for example, 5 times or 4 times, that kind of thing. But you are unable to ask further questions. So in this case, qualitative is really important, because you can ask deeper questions. Because you can ask like, oh, you said you go to clinic like once a week. You can ask more questions. What are the challenges that you face when you see the doctor or healthcare worker, for example, right? And then the interviewees would be able to explain more about it. So you get like deeper data, the challenges that they face, for example. But of course, you can include both. You can combine quantitative plus qualitative. And this is also a method that, I mean, a strategy that people use actually to conduct their research. So I did my PhD in anthropology. So in anthropology, there's a method, we call it ethnography. So ethnography is when you immerse yourself with the community, and you really like understand what's going on around you. And in this case, I'm talking about my experience as a non-Rohingya researcher, you see. So it's different. For you, you guys are, you experience, this whole thing, being displaced, and, not having, you have barriers to get your rights. So it's lived experience that you encounter, you know, is really helpful actually in understanding the context and also doing the research. So you can do, and some of you, you are living within the community, right? So you can actually conduct the research traditionally, because you live within the community, or you can also do it digitally. So digitally is, and I'm sure many Rohingya actually are on social media. We use social media a lot, right? We use Facebook, we use Instagram, we use Twitter. So and I know like many people also, you know, like share their stories and also their views online. So that's also valuable because you know, this is how you get your data. But of course, having said that, digital ethnography requires, you know, like you have to be careful about, you know, about the data that you get. You must make sure that, you know, um, you're not like breaching the privacy of the person, for example. Well, actually, you have to be ethical, regardless whether you're doing traditional ethnography or digital ethnography. I'll talk about ethics after this. Um, so I'm going to talk about stakeholder analysis. So when you have decided, you know, what method you want to undertake, whether quantitative or qualitative, then it's also important to do stakeholder analysis. So stakeholder analysis actually refers to the stakeholders, you know, people who are directly or indirectly involved in your research. Let's say if you want to understand, you know, the issue of employment, right? So who are responsible with regards to, you know, like in the issues of employment? Okay, so refugees generally, you know, they don't have the right to work. But again, when we talk about employment, who's involved? You see? So in the context of Malaysia, for example, I mean, I've done research about Rohingya employment in Malaysia. Yes, they are not allowed to work, but when it comes to employment, there are different stakeholders that are involved. So, for example, the immigration department, the labor department, Ministry of Home Affairs, and then employers. You know, employers is also a stakeholder, and of course, you know, the workers themselves, the Rohingya people, and the NGOs, you know. So you have to do the stakeholder analysis and map out, you know, the whole ecosystem of, you know, these stakeholders when it comes to education. And of course, you should be specific about your stakeholders, right? So of course, there are so many NGOs that actually help refugees, but then you have to be specific with your topic. For example, in Malaysia, when we talk about, you know, refugee employment, about refugees working, right? So one specific NGO, let's say it's called Asylum Access Malaysia. So Asylum Access Malaysia actually really, you know, focuses on the right to work for refugees. So if refugees get into trouble, you know, any employment disputes, you know, they would come in and help. So you need to be specific, you know, you need to target these stakeholders actually work on this, on education. This actually works on the right to work, and this works on healthcare. So when you know all these stakeholders and, you know, be specific about what they work on, then it's more clearer actually for you to conduct, you know, your research. And I also want to emphasize, you know, you also need to be aware of the laws, regulations, and policies. This is also part of the context that I talked about earlier, because knowing the laws, regulations, and policies actually really help, you know, how you frame your research. Because yes, of course, you know, in many countries, even in Malaysia, you know, in Thailand, Indonesia, you know, they do not recognize refugees legally. There's no like specific document that, you know, says, oh, we recognize refugees, that kind of thing. But you know, they use different terms. For example, you know, they use different terms. You know, there are different ways how they kind of like acknowledge the existence of Rohingya or refugees. So you have to look at, you know, the laws, regulations, and policies, uh, not just the United Nations Convention. Okay, so because of course, you know, at the international level we have the United Nations system and the convention whatsoever. But then again, you know, when you just look at it, what does it mean actually at the local level, at the regional level, and also at the local level? So that's why you need to, you know, like do research on, you know, this aspect as well. You know, at the global level, at the regional level and also at the local level. So for example, in the context of Southeast Asia, like at the international level, yes, we have, the UN Refugee Convention, but in Southeast Asia, only two countries actually, signed the Refugee Convention, Cambodia and the Philippines. But look at the regional level. So in ASEAN level, so ASEAN is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. They have their own mechanism actually. So they have their own documents. Let's say Bangkok Principles 1961, which was revised in 2001. Bangkok Principles 1966 actually. But it was revised in 2001, which actually outlines, about refugees in the region. And then you zoom in, at the local level, at the Malaysian level. So in Malaysia, Malaysia does not recognize refugees legally, but there's a document called National Security Council number 23 that acknowledges, the presence of refugees, or the presidential regulation in Indonesia that, recognizes, refugee, the need to actually help refugees, or the national screening mechanism in Thailand that talks about, refugee status determination. So you have to look at, at the broad level, and, and then you zoom in, because it will be very helpful to actually frame your research. And then you can identify what are the gaps, and then, come up with your recommendations, and finally, making an impact. So I already discussed, the first part, which is the method aspect. So the next aspect is ethics. So I mentioned earlier, about, about privacy, right? People's privacy. So you have to ensure that you collect your data and you respect people's privacy. Before I talk about that further, I want to discuss the aspect of positionality. So positionality actually refers to, our privileges that we have, our identity that we have that put us in a better position or in a certain position, okay? So I'm sure many of you, you are students, you are researchers, you are educated people. So we have to remind ourselves that you guys, you are educated. So when I say educated, it doesn't mean you have to, have many qualifications from many universities. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It also means that you actually know what's going on. You are a researcher, you know the system, you know how to get around. So you are educated. So you know a lot of things. And of course, you're a researcher and you have access to resources. And some of you are working together with international NGOs. Some of you are working, with the government or with human rights groups or researchers. So you have all these contacts and networks. So that means, when you say something, it carries a lot of weight. Compared to other people who just fled from Myanmar to Bangladesh, and then they're not so educated, they don't know much about the situation, they are just surviving day by day. So you are in a different position compared to them. So you have to bear in mind. So when you do research, you always remember that whenever you talk to them, it's a different situation. Let's say when you meet one family, right, you wanna understand about the children's education. You cannot simply assume that, oh, why don't you send your children to school? We have so many school, not so many, we have like some learning centers here, you should go and take your children to school. You cannot simply say that, because you need to understand the circumstances, of these people. They just fled, they just came to this area, and there's so many issues that they are experiencing, and they don't have enough resources, they don't have money. So that kind of thing, you have to be empathetic actually when you do your research. So that's why positionality is important, to check our privilege. And you guys are educated people, you guys are researchers, you have access to resources, and you are more secure than other people. So when you conduct research, be mindful about the situation of other people. This is what I always tell myself as well. I'm so privileged with many things. So when I conduct research, I always be mindful about the situation of the refugee participants. For example, they have so many challenges. So it's something that we have to bear in mind. And I want to talk about, yeah, so I talk about wheel of power and privilege, right? So I mentioned earlier, let's say for me, I have citizenship. I'm Malaysian. I am in the middle class group. I am educated. So I have so much power. So that means, I have to be mindful and not to simply abuse my respondents, for example, right? I cannot simply treat them as, I just want information from you. That's all. That's it. I can't do that. And the same thing goes with you as well. I mean, when you conduct your research, you talk to people, right? You cannot, you must treat them with dignity, that you want to really listen to them. You don't simply make judgments about about them. And another thing is intersectionality. So intersectionality is a lens through which you can see where power comes and collides, where it locks and intersects. It is the acknowledgement that everyone has their own unique experiences of discrimination and privilege. Actually, so the positionality and intersectionality, somehow they are interrelated. So I mentioned earlier, right? So intersectionality, when someone has multiple identities, so let's say in the context of Rohingya, right? So if you are a woman, if you come from certain areas, if you have disabilities, and if you have some mental health issues, there's so many challenges that you face. So you always have to bear in mind about the challenges that your respondents or your community actually faces when you conduct research. And having said that, then you should do no harm. So this is the rule that we always hold to. Do no harm. Do not harm your respondents. So when you conduct your research, when you interview them, you actually always need to have informed consent. So informed consent means, you have to explain to them that, okay, I am currently doing research. I'm actually, you need to be transparent and honest about your motive. So you come to someone's school, or you go to someone's house, tell them, actually, I am Aslam. I am actually a researcher, a student, a researcher, whatever. So I am currently working with somebody from this NGO. We are conducting research. We would like to know more about your situation regarding sexual gender-based violence, for example. You see, so you must be transparent. So you get their consent, either written or verbal. So they can sign a form, or you can just a verbal consent. And this means that you cannot force them if they do not want to be part of your research. Let's say they think that, oh, this is too much. I mean, I don't want, I'm not interested at all. You cannot, just don't. I mean, don't force them. And I think, talking about sexual and gender-based violence, for example, you as myself, I'm a man. So talking about something sensitive like this, it would be very difficult. So that's why, let's say if you want to talk to women, you can like collaborate with other female researcher to actually interview a woman who has experience sexual and gender-based violence, because that will help a lot. Because you have to be aware of the sensitivities in order to conduct your research. So at any point of time, let's say someone has agreed that, oh, I want to be part of this research. I want to tell you about my challenges accessing healthcare. Okay, at any okay, then you interview them, you talk about it a lot, and then at any point of time, if they decide to withdraw, to not to join anymore, then you shouldn't force them to continue. And another thing, also very important, other than informed consent, is to anonymize your data. So this anonymity, to anonymize your data means that, let's say you interview someone named Rahmatullah, okay, talking about so many things, but maybe it's not going to be safe if you put his real name, and where he comes from, his age, where he lives, that's gonna be harmful to him. So you should change the name. You should change his name to Aslam, for example. You say Aslam, who comes from this and that. So people cannot identify whatever that you are writing with the real person. This is to protect them, actually. And it is actually acceptable in academia, in academic research, you can do that. And of course, you can say, oh, Aslam, a pseudonym. But, it's a real person. It's just, you change the name just to ensure that, the person is safe and won't be threatened. If they say, especially if they say something controversial or critical towards, the authorities or UNHCR or NGOs, so this is what you need to think. And then lastly, the last aspect, the community impact, right? So we already discussed the methods, the types, and how to do research, and the second aspect about ethics, and the last one, community impact. So community impact, this is a difficult one, actually. Even myself, I've done some research. I still feel that, have I done anything impactful to the community? I always question that, because, when people do research, we always, people tend to get, to interview people, to extract data, to ask so many questions. But at the end of the day, people who are involved in the research, right, they always question, what do I get from this, right? You ask me so many questions, and it's not just you. There are so many other, like thousands of researchers asking the same questions, but nothing has changed. Our lives, we are still suffering. Our lives are still not good. So this is why the topics that you choose should also be, you should choose the topics that are important to the community. So you can find something that is under research, for example. So for me personally, I believe that, the disability issues, for example, disability, it's kind of under researched. Amongst refugees, right? Disability issues, right? I personally feel it is under research. So probably this is one area that you want to like look at, on top of the education aspect, accessing to healthcare and so on and so forth. And of course, you can integrate the different aspects of disability. So, for example, disability issues is not just about them accessing healthcare. It's also about people who have disabilities. How do they access education? There's so many layers to it. How do they actually support their livelihoods? That kind of thing. So I think it's an interesting research area. And when it is under researched, I believe that the impact would be great if you actually start researching on this. because yeah, when it's under research, not much is known about it, and therefore when you start talking about it and doing research about it, it will give impact to the underserved segments of the society or community. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a great emphasis on how you can translate research into action, because we always talk about academic papers, research papers, we interview people whatsoever, but at the end of the day, how can we disseminate this information, right? So it's through informed policy, and you can also do community projects, because I'm sure many of you have been engaging with international organizations or NGOs or even local organizations, right? I mean, to conduct research on something. Give your own suggestions. You should be the voice of your community. You guide, you guide the research projects. You tell them, yes, your topic is very interesting, but I want we, the community, I also want, the project to be impactful. It's not just about writing papers and submit the full research project. It is also about making impact, to the community. And I think, you should also, we to work together, we should also do some projects, let's say some modules for the learning centers, yes, together we actually ask feedback from the parents about their children's education, and by the end of the project, we should develop together a module or syllabus, on what are the activities that actually the learning centers should do to have like interactive and effective learning experience for the children, right? So always take the agency and ownership. You're not just like you're not just approach. Don't see yourself as, oh, okay. People approach me to do research, and I'm just gonna talk to people and get information from them and write reports. Don't just simply think that. You should also have the agency and take ownership of the research projects. You give your suggestions to collaborators from the local collaborators or international collaborators or people like me. Like I'm also doing research, right? But you should also tell me that these are the things that the community needs, and we should do this research, and at the same time do something that benefits them. And I think it's also important to actually come up with like some short summary of your research. So I actually teach public policy at university. So I always tell people that a policy brief is a powerful tool because you summarize the whole thing in just one page. So with this one page, you can actually disseminate the information everywhere and on social media. I mean, that's a really important platform, right? And you can actually disseminate this to parliamentarians or the stakeholders that you engage with, and they will be able to understand the issue, the challenges, and your policy recommendations. What can we do to improve the situation? So I think that will make an impact at the broader level. But of course, we understand in reality, it takes time. It takes years or decades sometimes to actually see changes. But these are the things that we need to continue doing in order to make changes. I think that's all from me. My presentation. If you have any questions, just let me know. I will try my very best to answer those questions.
Okay, thank you so much for this a wonderful presentation. Yeah, thank you. I think we'll have some question from the participants. Yeah, I think you can remove the slide so that we can see. Okay, yeah, thank you. Now we have one. Asim. Yeah, Asim, can you please go ahead? Yeah.
First of all, thank you to our Aslam sir for giving us time. It's pleasure to have you in our institute. I have a question that is, how is the Malaysian government treating the Rohingya, putting them in prison? Even though we the Rohingya are genocide survivor from Myanmar, and there is no law that refugees deserve to be in prison at any cost, according to the UN Human Rights Declaration. And what are their